Dr. Lawrence W. Moore, and welcome to this edition of Sunday Night Synthesis. This week, my assistant Crafty and I want to show you MobMuPlat, which is an abbreviation for Mobile Music Platform. It allows you to make GUI, graphic user interfaces, for your Pure Data patches. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make a record button, playback button, and volume control. A real simple app, but basically to show you what can be done with MobMuPlat and Pure Data. And if you like this video and think I should do more tutorials on MobMuPlat and Pure Data as its own series, please leave a comment asking me to do so. And please like the video as well.
So let's get started here. The first thing we should probably look at is MobMuPlat, where to get it. Here's its website, mobmuplat.com. It's mobile music platform, that's what it stands for. Here's like a video that you can watch if you want to. It's mostly just shows the different things you can do with the software. And basically you need to download the platform for whichever system you're using, whether it be Android or iOS, and you can do that. Here's where it tells you, but basically you go to the App Store or Google Play and download MobMuPlat. If you search for MobMuPlat, you should easily find it. You download it and install it to your phone or tablet. And then on your computer, you want to download the development tools that you use to make your GUI and synchronize it with your Pure Data patch. And of course, if you find the software useful, you might want to eventually, donate to the cause and so forth down here. Independent developers putting a lot of time and effort into making stuff, so if you find it useful, donate what you feel you can. Also, most of my viewers already have Pure Data, but I just want to show you something. The version of Pure Data, or shall we say the type of Pure Data that you want to use, I'm at puredata.info here, is Pure Data Vanilla, which is down here. MobMuPlat, I believe, works with 0.46 and later. Right now it's at 0.48, so you might as well get that. And basically it's Pure Data without additional extras like you would find in PD Extended. I know a lot of my viewers use PD Extended. You want to use Vanilla for this, because that's what it's designed for. MobMuPlat is designed to work with Vanilla. I have both installed to my computer. I just installed PD Extended to a folder called PD Extended, and PD to its folder PD, so that I have both. And PD is the one that you want to be developing with for MobMuPlat. So there we go. Those are those things. And when you download that MobMuPlat development package, this is what you get. You open it up and there's a folder containing these things. And of course it works for both Mac, Windows, and Linux. And it's largely the same for all three. And so here's how the folder's laid out. I made an additional folder that you don't find in the download. This is called Projects. That's where I keep my projects that I'm working on. But you get an editor folder. This is where the MobMuPlat editor is. If you open this folder, you can go to the OS X version of the editor. The rest of us need to use the cross-platform editor. This is a Java app, so you should have Java installed to your system. If you don't, you just go to java.com/, hold on here, download, and then you click on the button and you download Java, which allows you to use Java applications. It's the Java runtime. So there you go. So anyway, I'm going to open the editor, and it looks kind of like this. It's basically, this is different views. The main view here, which is called looks like demo. Alright. And then here is where you add different components, different GUI widgets. This is where you change their properties. And then lastly, this lock view is where you can test things out with pure data. So we'll be using these in just a moment. But to run it with pure data in that lock view, I recommend you do this. You go back to the main folder here, and there's something called PD wrapper. Double click that, and you see this pure data patch come up. Looks like this overall. This needs to be open for pure data to communicate with the editor when you're designing things. But since you don't need to see it or do anything with it, you just minimize it, put it down, and then from its PD window, this is where you can open the patch you're working with. Now I'm going to use a patch that was in a previous episode of Sunday Night Synthesis, and it's on my desktop. I put it in a folder called Sample Looper, I believe. Looping Sampler, that's it. And here's the PD file. And so, what I'm going to do next, and I recommend this, is give your MobMuPlat GUI, the thing that you're editing here, a home on the computer so it knows where it is. You go to File, Save As, and now since this is on my desktop, I'm going to go up here. Let's see, I should be able to find my desktop up here easily. There we go. And then this looping sampler folder is here. And now I'm going to save this. I usually like to give it the same name as a PD file, although you don't have to. It just organizes things better to do that. So I'm calling it looping sampler, and I'm leaving in the .mmp extension. And then I hit save. Now we can look at this real quick to see where these are saved on the computer. It's important that these files have a home and then can find each other. So this is the folder on my desktop, and we have the looping sampler PD file and looping sampler.mmp file. Now we're seeing an icon here for LMMS, which is a Linux music making system. It has nothing to do with MobMuPlat. It's just when somewhere along the line it got associated with this file extension or anything that it doesn't have a known extension that Windows is aware of, and so I get that icon. But in any case, that's neither here nor there, but that's why that icon's appearing for me. So here's the PD window. I can leave that up there. Here's the PD patch, and let's organize these a little bit. Zooming out here. My patch window doesn't need to be this big, so I'm going to shrink it. Come on, you can do it. There we go. I'm going to still leave it about this tall because I need to add things to it that allow it to communicate with the GUI. So I'm going to put it over here, the PD window here, and I could cover that up a bit with the editor. I don't need to look at it too much. So anyway, here we go. We'll have them both right next to one another. Let's minimize this. Don't need to see that. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to zoom in and start working on it. Let me show you how the patch works. You may have seen this episode, but in any case, this is a system here where basically turns on DSP, and anytime you're working with a PD patch for MobMuPlat, you do want this automatic PD DSP1 message to be sent when the patch loads so that your DSP is running automatically. It gets the sampling rate here and sends out that information under this send symbol here, $0 -sample rate. And then that's where over here it gets utilized to help resize this table. And so this button, this toggle, when it's turned on, starts recording. And it records whatever's coming in through my microphone, through the ADC here. Going to the right SF. These are all messages to, like, open this file name, start recording to it, then stop. And the stop gets executed when the toggle gets turned off. So these are functions that I want to be able to be on the MobMuPlat controls. Basically a toggle, I can make a toggle there that, allows you to start recording, and you click it again to stop. Now it records to this table here, and so the audio will fill up this table. It gets automatically loaded from file down here. File gets written to disk when you record it by right SF, and the rest of this mechanism, as soon as you're done recording, loads it to the table, and so it'll be there. And this is my sample looper, where basically when you turn on this toggle, it plays through the sample from beginning to end, and will continue to loop it, like play it over and over until you turn it off here. So we're going to test this, but we're going to test it using the MobMuPlat controls that we make for it. And so far, all we need is really a record button and a play button. So this will be a simple first example so you can see how this works. So I'm going to move this down because we need to basically put in a little bit of patching that allow the controls over here to communicate with it. So first of all, in this first screen here, the first page of the editor, this is where you define some of the properties. I'm not going to go through all these things, because if we do have a series on it, that's where I'll do more thorough things. But right now I just want to show you how it works. Basically, this is where you would say the type of phone or tablet profile that you want for it. It kind of does sizing of things here so that you can have more room to work in your editor if you're going to be making this for tablet, for example, as opposed to phone. And then here, portrait or landscape is whether the screen view should stand up or be a landscape, horizontal, wide view. This is the background color. Could change that. Gray is a little boring, so I don't know. How about that? Ooh, maybe a little bright. There we go. That looks nice. So you see how that works. This eye thing here is always like a menu on your the first page of your app. You can make multi-page apps so that you can drag and basically go through the different pages of the app. The page count is set to 1. This is a one-page app right now, and I'm going to keep it that way because we don't need more than one. And then this is the first page that it should start on. Pages are ordered left to right, so 1, 2 would be here, 3, 4, so forth, and you swipe this way to get to the other pages. But we're only going to have one page, so that's that. Now this is important. This is where you got to put in what is the PD file that this is associated with. And what I highly recommend to you, because eventually these two files, the MMP file that I'm editing here, the pure data patch file, both of these are saved to disk in the same folder. They're both going to be copied to a folder on your phone or your tablet called MobMuPlat. That's a folder that MobMuPlat makes when you install it, and it has all the example apps in there that you can try out and use and so forth. And you would basically be adding these two files, which would add it to the list of apps in MobMuPlat on your device. So the thing is, since they're going to be in the same folder, eventually you want to edit them here in the same folder, so that way, for example, when I do this and I browse for where my pure data file is, I'm going to find it here in the looping sampler folder. There we go. But you'll see, select that and hit OK. Oh, I hit cancel. I'm used to the OK being on the right, but it's not OK. It's open. There we go. Now you see how it doesn't have any folders or forward slashes in here. If you see stuff like that, you're going to know that that's a problem, because basically you want your PD file to be right next to your MMP file in the same folder. They're going to both be in the same folder on the phone, so here on your computer you want them in the same folder too. So you could also just type in its file name, loopingsampler.pd. So anyway, now that that's set up, these things will communicate with one another. In multi-page apps, you use these buttons to go up and down through the pages to edit them. And then there's a layout grid. It's good to hit that button, and then you can say what your grid work size is going to be. This would be like 20 by 20 pixel boxes. And that's good. I'm going to stick with that. And I'm going to hit this, meaning to set up to that grid work. And then I hit here, snap things to grid. If you already made things, this would kind of snap things to the lines of the grid work to line them up better. But I'm just going to hit close because I don't have anything made yet. But now that I hit this, go back again, hit this checkbox, when I add objects now, it'll line it up to the grid work. That's good, so things can line up with each other in the app's display. So I need two toggles. I'm going to make one here. Let's see, where is it? Over here, toggle. And it appears like this. Now this is really a select box, but the toggle is a square that this selection area is kind of covering right now with an empty middle. We're going to change its properties so it can be seen a little bit better. But I'm going to make this the record button, and I'm going to center it right about there. Oh, maybe there. Do it like this, that way it's centered. Okay, anytime you want to resize these boxes, use the lower square in the lower right hand corner. That's what allows you to stretch it, and of course it snaps into place on the grid because I turned on that grid. Now I'm going to go to the prop menu, and this is the properties of the toggle box that I just made. Here's where its colors can be. If I just click in space here, you'll see this is my toggle. It's a blue box, and then when I click it, it's selected now, and so we see its properties. I'm going to give it a different coloration than that. Let's try something like this for recording, orangish. And I'm going to hit, well, close this. And then I'm going down here. This is the width of the border area of the toggle. And so I'm going to make it 20. And now you actually see it. Before it was hidden under the black select box area. But now you see it, and it's this wide and this tall and this thick, 20 pixels. And now this color is what would appear here when you click the toggle, as if to indicate that it's on. And so I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it the same as that if I can. I'm going to change both of these basically. Both of these colors, make them this one here. Let's see, the orange one about 3 down. Okay. Good. And then I'm going to make the outside color the same, since it's not quite the same. orange one 3 down. There we go. Now they would basically be the same color. So basically it gets filled in when it gets clicked. In fact, in the lock view we can see it right now. This is how it would look. There we go, for turning on and off. Let's go back to properties though, because I'm going to give this a different name. I'm going to call this, now you need the / as part of the name, and the names are case sensitive, so I'm just going to call this /record. Okay, so that, it's called an address, but it's basically its name, and it's how it gets defined over here. So now, this is how you receive things in from the GUI. You make a receive object, just type R space, and then you type from GUI, like that. Lowercase from, capital GUI, all one word. Then after this I'm going to make an object that's a list object, space, creation argument trim. Information from your MobMuPlat GUI comes in here, and this command trims it so it becomes separate elements, and each element has that / at the beginning of its address name, and then you put that into a route, and this is where you put your address names, / record. This is where information from hitting that record button would come through. Now what I'm going to do is right after this put a number box. You notice how there's 2 outlets on this route. As you add more items after the term route, and they would be different address names, / and whatever the name is, however many you have in the GUI. Eventually I'm going to have 2, /record, /play. It'll add outlets at the bottom of the object. Right now there's 1 outlet because there's one thing, and that's for a record. And then there's a second outlet actually. The last outlet is always a none of the above outlet. But since I'm only going to be putting in things into route for controls I have over there, nothing will ever come out of here. So just don't get confused. There's always the rightmost outlet that is basically going to be nothing. And so I'm going to hook this up here, because that's going to go into the toggle box. Now a toggle in MobMuPlat is just like a toggle in PD. When it gets checked off, you'll see here a 1 comes through, and then that turns on the toggle here, because it's the same thing in PD. 1 or 0. When it's checked off, it means a 1 comes through. So actually I'm recording right now. Just realize that. Turn it off. It stopped recording. And so here's what I recorded. Me talking. Okay. So there we go. Now the reason why this is working is because I loaded this PD patch by opening the wrapper. The wrapper's open, and I minimized it, but that wrapper thing that patch needs to be running when you use lock mode to test your app. And so that wrapper is in the background running, connecting these two. Now I need to make the play button, and that's going to be something that I'm going to call /play. This number box is unnecessary, but I'm putting them there so you can see what is actually being sent from MobMuPlat, what's being sent from the GUI. And so this is going to go to this toggle box here, so you can have playback. And basically it'll be the same thing. 1 means it's checked off, and it'll be playing and looping, playing through the sample over and over. And then when you turn off the toggle, it will stop. Okay, so let's make that. I'm going to go to add. I'm going to add another toggle. put it here. There we go. Now it maintained my colors because that's what I was just using, but I'm going to make it just as wide, 20. And actually I'm going to change the colors. I'll make it green for play. And since I want this to be the same greens for both colors, let's just say the bottommost green in the left column there. Bottommost green in the left column here. Oh, I think it's this one. There we go. So let's look at that. Let's go to lock. Good. And then go back to properties because I want to give it the name play /play. The main rules in naming these is to use letters and numbers. There may be some other characters allowed, but I pretty much just use letters and numbers, and they are case sensitive, and you need the / at the beginning. So anyway, this should now in lock mode turn on and off the toggle over here. A 1 comes through, and then that turns on the, yeah, okay. So let me record something different. Hello, this is a test of MobMuPlat and Pure Data. Test of MobMuPlat. I gotta wait before I talk. Oh, wait a minute. Plat and Pure Data. Hello, this is a test of MobMuPlat and Pure Data. Hello, this is a test of... Alright, when I press play here, it picks up where you'd last stopped. That's why I cut off the beginning of the word there. MobMuPlat and Pure Data. Hello, this is a test. If I wanted to start from the beginning each time, I would also need to do something to make sure it goes back to the beginning. Let's see, this 0 goes into phaser. We would also... that's looking to me. This is receiving the normal rate, meaning, alright, this is all part of the patching. I'm just looking at here if there's something I need to add to put it back to the beginning. I guess phaser. Go back to this multiplier here. Of MobMuPlat and Pure Data. Hello. I guess the mechanism I'm using for playback here is just set up that way, so I would have to do the playback in a different way if I wanted to always start at the beginning. And I'm not going to bother doing that because this is mostly about what you can do with these things. Now let's say we want to have some volume control. Let's add that. I'm going to add a multiplier here, star tilde, put it in here. Now we're going to be sending numbers into the right inlet to give it some volume control. So that means to smooth it out, I always like to do this, pack F50 line tilde. This is going to smooth out the numbers that come through, so as you change volume you don't hear artifacts or little snapping sounds. Okay, so now the number range that an amplifier uses is 0 to 1. And that's pretty easy in MobMuPlat because you have sliders that you can add. And right there, there's a slider. Now let's make it a size that works with our layout scheme. How about like that? Now maybe I'll give it a different color though. That's in the properties. How about like a light blue? Let's go with 2, 3, 1, 2. Third one down, maybe. No, that clashes. Cyan, third one down. There we go. That's what we'll use. Now, this is its highlight color. So when you click on the slider, it changes to that color. So maybe I'd like it to be different, but I'll just make it go to a darker cyan. So in lock mode, we can see that, how that'll look. Now when you're touching your screen, it'll be with your finger, but it'll be the same result. There you go. And now we can go over here to the slider and rename it to /volume. Now you can also have horizontal sliders. And then this is the number of values in your slider. 2 means you have 2 values, and values always start at 0. So what it basically means is the bottom is 0 and the top is 1. And that's your 2 values, 0 and 1. And then the range in between is everything in between. You know, the resolution would be the number of pixels that you could slide between. But that works great. That's like 0 to 1 is the number range that we want for amplitude. So all we need to do over here, add to our route /volume. Can put in a number box here, although it's not necessary at all. But we'll be able to see the numbers coming through while we're looking at it here in pure data. And then we hook this up over here where it goes through pack F50, and each number it goes through replaces the F here, and then the line basically will go from number to number over 50 milliseconds, and so it'll be a smoothing mechanism. So now let's go and test this. Playback. Uh-oh. Something isn't working right. Volume, V-O-L-U-M-E. See, I don't see a number coming through here, so let's go over here. Go to Properties. I forgot the U in volume. Go back to lock view. Hello, this is a test of MobMuPlat and pure data. Let's have it come out both sides. Hello, this is a test of MobMuPlat and pure data. Hello, this is a test of MobMuPlat and pure data. Hello. And there we go. So that's a nice basic little app so you can see how that works. And then I'm going to be filming the intro in a minute, and I should be able to put it on my phone and show it to you there. Now, let's say you're done with this, you're happy with it. Oh, wait a minute, I do want to add one more thing. Let's add to our load bang operations here. How about when you start, you might want to have volume up to begin with. So I'm going to add a third bang here to the load bang trigger. So that way, it turns DSP on. Now the way the mechanism of this patch is set up, you record the file first. And then you play. The file will be there because it writes it to file. The file will stay there and be there. But the mechanism is it doesn't get loaded into the array until you actually record and stop. So that's one thing that I guess could be a pain. Maybe we'll change that real quick by doing this. Let's add another B here. And I'm moving these over because they need to be in order right to left. You want DSP turned on, before these other things are able to function properly. And the order of operations in PD is right to left. So next, we can do this. This will bang the symbol box, and that'll get the file loaded in here. So if the file doesn't exist on disk, then it won't load. But when we copy these over, we'll copy over the sample.wave file as well. You'll see in the folder, since I recorded it already, that's where it is. So I'd copy all three of these files. Although, for things to be organized, since in MobMuPlat all your apps get stored in one folder, to be more organized, I think what I'm going to do is change the file name. And let's see, sound filer, read, resize, sample.wave. Let's call it looping sampler. So that way all the files associated with this app have the same name. There are three different types: a PD file, MobMuPlat file, that's the graphic editor file, and so forth. So that way, they'll have the same file name, and it'll be easy to find them in a directory where there's a list of other things with other apps that you have. And so we're going to go to here, and let's record it again. We can do that with the MobMuPlat editor, wherever it is. There it is. Hello, this is a sample recording. Uh-oh. I think I did something wrong. Oh, that's right. File name needs to be the same here. Now, probably don't need to record it again. Now that the file name's correct over here, I could just go. Uh-oh. Looping underscore sampler dot wav, and over here looping. Oh, yeah, this will have to happen again because here it was recording it to the old file name. And alright, we got to record again. Here we go. Alright, let's record again. This is the final test sample. Let's record again. This is the final test sample. Alright, let's record again. This is the final test sample. There we go. So now, the idea is, let's close this. Now let's reopen the patch. Okay. And you see it loads the file from the beginning, and so that way we'll test sample. Alright, let's record again. This is the final test sample. Alright, we didn't hear it until I moved the volume slider, because basically the amplifier is at 0 until a number gets sent in. So what I'm going to do is the following. We had an extra B here. I'm going to let's move this down here. That's where the number comes in for that, and I'll move it down just a little bit. Let's put a message with something like 0.8 in. That's a good starting volume. That'll be our default volume. And then we'll have that banged in. And now I click this, it'll be the same as like, well, basically when it opens it'll be automatic, and so I can do this. Now, the volume is really going to be at 0.8, but you see it didn't get updated here because this widget didn't receive a value. It'd be nice for this to be synchronized with the values coming in. So, the way we can do that, and we do need to put a little bit of a protection on here. We don't want things looping. So we're going to use the change object. Because basically we're going to have the value come in from the GUI so that if you move it there, it comes in. But in order to make sure it stays synchronized, because maybe like when it loads, this gets hit and this becomes the value here. We want to send the value out here. And so I'm going to make another change object just to be safe. And this is what happens. You make a message box and you say /volume $1. Now PD $1, 2, 3, whatever. Those are variables. You start with $1, so that means the first thing it gets. That number will be $1, and basically it's sending volume and the number that corresponds to the volume, and that needs to be sent to a list object and then to a send object to GUI, which is the opposite of what we have above. From GUI, send to GUI. Now let's see here. I'm going to move this down. Now let's hit this 8. There we go. So when it opens up, your slider here will be synchronized with the actual volume. Now the reason why the change objects are in is the change objects will receive numbers but only send them out if it's actually changed from what it last received. Since our volume information here is going out to the GUI, and then it comes in from the GUI from the same place. Literally, the first time you move this without the change objects, it would be coming in a certain number, it would go out to this thing, and because it just sent it again, it'll come back through here. It's a loop. So by putting the change objects on, as soon as that thing loops around to where it was before, the change object blocks the same value, and it'll only allow it through if it changes. So that way it only goes through if you actually move this. And so it'll send that through, but then once it stops in one place, the loop of that same number coming through gets stopped. And so there we go. Now you can save this and let's see what happens. I'm going to close it, and just as a test, I'm going to move this down here like this. But we'll go here to File, Open. There we go. You see, the load bang put the 0.8 through, so now the volume's up. Alright, let's record again. This is, you could play your last sample, or record a new one. Hello, we're recording a new sample. Recording a new sample. Hello, we're recording a new sample. Hello, we're recording a new sample. There we go. So, now I thought this 0 message here would put phaser right back at the beginning of its phase. So it would I guess no, its output will just, its output stays the same coming through. Well, that's kind of annoying. So anyway, it just picks up where it starts off. I would use a different mechanism for the table playback if I always wanted it to start from the beginning. But since this is just an example of MobMuPlat, how it works, that's good enough. So now if I want to put this on the phone, you want to make sure you save. There we go. That's right, it doesn't close from that. You have to go to File and Quit. And then here, Control S, saves, quit. There we go. Now here are the files. That's before I changed the file name, so we get rid of that. These 3 files go over to the phone. Now I have here, alright, I have, this is my MobMuPlat folder, don't need that. Well, I still want that up. Oh, I have 2 of them, so let's just forget that. Looping sampler. Alright, here we go. We're going to do this. We're going to go to File Explorer. And then the thing is, you need to put it in this folder on your phone. Now, if you're using an iPhone in Mac, you will have to figure out how to do that. But Android phones and Windows, you can browse them by connecting with USB. And here we are, MobMuPlat. Now here I have just the welcome patch, like the welcome patch and its different GUIs in my MobMuPlat folder. Normally, after you just installed it, your MobMuPlat folder, which I'd rather to view as a list, there we go, is going to have a bunch of files in here because there's a bunch of examples that you can play with and work with. The way to, you can delete all those, but you want to keep the welcomes. So all the file names that say welcome you want to keep. I deleted them because I've been through them. I don't need to work with them anymore. But if you ever want to look at any of those, the patches folder in your MobMuPlat development folder contains all those apps. So I could literally copy these all over again and then they'd all be there. And here are the welcome ones at the bottom. And so I don't need that. So I'm just basically going to copy in this new app, and then, which will be these 3 files, and then on my phone these will appear in the app list in MobMuPlat. The list is largely alphabetical, but the reason I name them all the same thing is so that way in that alphabetical list you see them all together. And so what you would do is from that list select loopingsampler.mmp. And I'm going to do that in the intro to this tutorial, and so you'll see the app there. But right now it's on the phone, so it should be loadable by MobMuPlat. Okay, so if you found this useful, please like the video. And then also, if you feel that you'd like me to do more tutorials on MobMuPlat and go further with it, please leave a comment saying, yeah, I'd like to see more of these. And in that case, I will do more of them. And we'll have another series. And you'll have a whole more variety of things to be interesting, to explore, to learn, and to make music. So in any case, I'll see you next Sunday night.